Student loan debt cancellation is actually happening as President Biden announces he will cancel up to $20,000 for borrowers who need it the most. And so people who still have federal student loans are very happy to hear about this news, and people who don't, well, they're a little bit upset and annoyed about it. But how do you feel about this news? Make sure you tell me down in the comment section below, and I'll share throughout this video my thoughts as well. Because, okay, here's the thing. It's estimated it will cost the US government around $364 billion. That's right, $364 billion to execute this plan. Now you may be thinking, so what, Sean? Let them spend the money and forgive all the debts. Well, hold on. Do you know how the government makes their money? Is it A, by selling goods and services to other countries, or B, by taxing hardworking US residents? If you said B, then that is mainly correct. In fact, the IRS plans to hire 87,000 new agents so that they can make sure everyone, not just the rich people, okay, everyone pays their fair share in taxes. Take a look at this chart from the Congressional Budget Office showing that 51% of government revenue comes from individual income taxes. So yes, there probably will be more tax return audits. I would expect some tax rates to increase. I would also expect some tax contribution limits to decrease, there to be fewer tax credits, and so on, because the government is going to have to figure out a way to pay for all this money that they're printing. But wait, maybe they won't, right? Like, inflation has been a clear problem over the last year, yet the government is still printing money. I mean, don't you think inflation will increase if student consumers have less debt and more spending power? Some people are reporting that this plan will fully offset any deficit reduction resulting from the Inflation Reduction Act. And it's all very confusing, right? Well, in this video, let's break it all down, because what I want to do is cover how student loan debt cancellation works. I'll also cover how it will affect the US student loan debt crisis and the potential tax outcomes and tax consequences, which are very important for you to know. So make sure you watch until the very end to see that. But really quick, before I dive in, if you're new to the channel, hey there, I'm Sean with Life Accounting, the accounting company that helps you save on taxes and build more wealth. Hey, if you get any value from this video, please do me a favor and click the like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really goes a long way in helping this video reach more people like you. All right, let's get started with number one. How does student loan debt cancellation work? So if you are a single taxpayer who makes less than $125,000 per year, or a married filing jointly taxpayer who makes less than $250,000 per year, then you're eligible to get up to $10,000 in federal student loan payments completely forgiven, canceled, wiped out, poof, okay? Also, I'm curious because President Biden said this is for borrowers who need it the most, right? But $125,000 per year is a lot of money. Do you think they really need it? Don't forget to tell me down in the comment section below. Now, the deal gets even better if you were given a Federal Pell grant, which usually is awarded to students whose families earn less than $60,000 per year. And so if that's you, you can get up to $20,000 in student loan debt completely canceled or forgiven. These changes will affect nearly 45% of student loan borrowers, or 20 million people who will get their debt completely canceled or wiped out, according to the White House. Also, they have extended the student loan payment pause through December 31st, 2022, so that people have an opportunity to apply for this cancellation. Now, if you are someone who ended up paying off all your student loans between March 13th, 2020 and today, then good news. You still can request a refund on your student loan payments from that period and have the opportunity to get forgiveness as well. Now, so far, I haven't seen any glaring issues or catches other than the fact that the loan must be held with the Department of Education. And there are some student loans that are held with other private financial institutions, so that's something to keep in mind. But the application process hasn't been released yet, so we'll just have to wait and see if more guidance ends up being revealed. Right now, the plan is that the Department of Education will release a short and simple application form for borrowers to use within the next few weeks, according to President Biden. So with that, let's move on to number two and talk about how this will affect the student loan crisis and inflation. It's no secret that the United States is filled with student loan debt, so much so that some people call it a student loan debt financial crisis, because according to the Federal Reserve, Americans owe nearly $1.74 trillion in student loan debt, with the average student owing about $37,000 and paying about $300 per month before the White House paused the student loan payments. All right, so then let's do some numbers and do some math together to figure out where this leaves us. So if we have $1.74 trillion in student loan debt and the White House is planning to forgive about $300 billion, then guess what? That still leaves America with $1.4 trillion in student loan debt. So this cancellation takes us back to where we were about 5 years ago, which means in 2028, we likely will be in the same position that we are today. Because, okay, student loan debt is a symptom, but not the problem. The problem is we have unbelievably high college tuition that has gotten out of control. In the fact that 18-year-olds can take out a $50,000 student loan when they are not even at the age to legally drink.
What?
So I think if the White House really wanted to tackle student loan debt, they would figure out a way to make college more affordable instead of allowing these things to continue, especially since this decision will likely impact inflation, because the Inflation Reduction Act was supposed to decrease the US spending deficit by about $350 billion, but now they're spending that to cancel student loans. And if student loan debts are canceled and repayment never resumes, then inflation will likely go up. But if student loan debt is canceled and other people start making their student loan payments, then maybe everything will balance out. Now, what will actually happen? Nobody really knows, but one thing is for sure, and that is number 3, there will be tax consequences. Under current law, the tax code treats forgiven or canceled debt as taxable income with some minor exceptions. So for example, if a taxpayer has $50,000 in taxable income, but then they have $20,000 of debt forgiven, well then that borrower would now have $70,000 in taxable income, which means your effective tax rate will increase, thus you owe more federal taxes. And you can't run from this, because usually when you get debt canceled or forgiven, you are provided what is called a 1099-C form that reports exactly how much debt was forgiven and should be shown as income on your tax return. So remember that chart that I showed you a little bit earlier in the intro and how the government makes money from taxes? Yeah, even people who have their debt forgiven will still need to pay some of it back through taxes. But what about all those other hardworking Americans who went through the hassle of paying off all their student loans prior to March 13, 2020, like me and my wife? Well, you're probably going to be awarded with more taxes and more inflation. Glad you came through. But no, seriously, my main thought is, okay, I'm all for it for the people who really need their loans forgiven. There's really some people who are struggling and they need relief. But I think the threshold going up to $125,000 is a little bit high for me, because that's a lot of income. But don't forget to tell me down in the comment section below what you think. All right, coming up next, I have 2 more videos that you may enjoy as well. So check those out if you haven't already, and I'll see you over there.